Gonzaga avenges last year's home loss to San Diego State with a win at Viejas. Do they have the best bona fides so far?
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy Tuesday. Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host today, Isaac Shea, and you're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch of the day. And I want to remind you, you can catch every episode free on Amazon Music. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, and of course, all the great members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. All right, gang, coming up on today's show, we're going to look back at Monday's action. No big Monday yet. Got to wait till Monday Night Football and other stuff's over for that, but including Wisconsin almost negating their big win over Arizona. Johni Broome went off for Auburn on Monday night. A surprise Razorback has been leading the charge for Coach Cal's team. Then we'll get into looking a little bit at Tuesday's action, which is headlined by a Maui title game rematch from last year. Some AP poll reacts, but first we got to get to the biggest game of Monday night, which happened late, was the last game to finish off on Monday. And that, of course, is Gonzaga at San Diego State. Gonzaga gets out of there with an 80-67 victory on the road at Viejas, which is always a very difficult environment to go win in. And look, I love this matchup. I love that we're getting this true home and home. You hear us talk about that all the time, and this is good for our sport. So thank you to both of these coaches for getting this done. And I mean, when you look at it too, I love it because Gonzaga and San Diego State, you look around the West Coast, and these are the two most successful programs of recent history on the West Coast. And I don't even need to think about like USC or UCLA or Utah or BYU, because they don't have obviously the sustained excellence of Gonzaga, but neither San Diego State right now. These are the two programs that have been doing it the best for the last several years, and that doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Yes, Gonzaga is better right now. San Diego State has a young team, but a team that's got a good bit of talent. They're just banged up and stuff right now, so they're going to get it figured out. So for Gonzaga, a great road win, and legitimately, before we get into the game, I mean, what they've already done to just take Baylor's will to win that tight game at home against an Arizona State team that at the time we thought was going to be pretty miserably bad because of what Duke had done to them in an exhibition game. But it was a nice reminder that the exhibition games are only that, exhibition games, because Arizona State has shown well. They knocked off Grand Canyon, which might not seem like much to a lot of people, but trust me, it is. Grand Canyon's a great basketball team. And so Gonzaga has done that, beat Arizona State. And then obviously this road win at San Diego State is going to have legs all season long. And so of the teams that are at the tip top of the sport right now, I know like Auburn has maybe the best win of the year, that win over Houston, Kentucky over Duke, right? There's several teams with great games or great wins, but for Gonzaga, they've got multiple of them now. And quite frankly, maybe along with that Auburn performance, have looked the best to my eye test. They've got the depth they didn't have last year. You've got another year of Ryan Nemhard and Graham Ike figuring it out together. And I got to tell you right now, that 1-2 combo of Ryan Nemhard running the show and Graham Ike, who are both kind of walking double-doubles in different ways, I'd put that duo up against just about anyone else in the country. And then Gonzaga, again, has that depth that they didn't necessarily have last year, even with the Steele Venters injury preseason yet again, because it's not just those two in Ike and Nemhard. For example, in this game against San Diego State, 6 Bulldogs score 7 or more points. 8 players play 18 or more minutes and are productive in what they're doing. And then there's other guys, if need be. That's the thing is there are guys that aren't getting minutes that could play on this team. And so beyond that, I mean, being able to go to Viejas and drop 80 on San Diego State is something that probably made Steve Fisher squirm in his seat from wherever he was on Monday night, because I know that he was in the building. They talked about it. But again, for San Diego State on their side of it, Reese Waters is still out. He's their best returning player. Sounds like it's going to be another multiple weeks, probably not until Mountain West play before he's back. Stress fracture. Miles Byrd was questionable in this game, whether he would play or not. He did start, had 0 points at the half, and I didn't look at what he ended up with, although it probably wasn't much, if anything, because he was out injured a lot of the second half. Yeah, finished no points, 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. That doesn't help when Magoon Guath is also 0 of 5 from the field, 0 points. This guy who averages, Guath averages 3.5 blocks, had 5 in this game. That is bonkers for this homie. And so that's good stuff. But BJ Davis, who is one of the best scorers for San Diego State, had 15 points in this game, but he had some foul trouble. Nick Boyd, the FAU transfer, man, FAU transfers from that starting five are just all over the place, and I love it. It's just a reminder of how good that Owls team was. But he is tied with Ike as the high scorer in this game. Nick Boyd is 23 points, 6 of 10 shooting. He was 9 of 10 at the free throw line, got 9 rebounds to go along with it. But let's look at that dynamic Batman and Robin duo right at the top of things for Gonzaga. Graham Ike, as I just said, tied with Nick Boyd for the game lead in points, but obviously paced Gonzaga with 23, had 9 boards, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. And just Ryan Nembhard is so crafty and so good at what he does. Like, it's so, as you see him compared to San Diego State's younger guards, it just magnifies it all the more how good and dynamic he is. He changes gears so well, can kind of lull you to sleep a little bit, and then boom. He's patient, but he goes when he needs to. On the season, if I calculated it right, 40 assists to just 5 turnovers on the season. That is just insane for what Ryan Nembhard's doing in this game. Double-double, 19 points, 10 assists, 4 rebounds to go with it, and a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. So if you combine Ike and Nemhard at the line, we're talking about 17 of 19 for those two dudes. You got to imagine that Mark Few is very, very, very happy with that. For San Diego State, I think they just need to get healthy, and they need to continue growing and maturing together, figure out who they are as a team. And this is a team that's going to be able to do that because they play under great leadership and for, like great coaching there. And so I just know that Brian Dutcher's going to get this team together, right? He's going to be able to, because that's what he does year in and year out. I love watching Gonzaga's pace. Man, they get out and they go, but they can score on the half court too. That's the thing, is you see so many teams right now nationwide that need to score in transition to be as effective and as efficient as they want to be. But Gonzaga can do it in the half court because of Nemhard, because of Ike, because of others who can stretch the floor. Like Braden Huff, man, looks so good to me. I really love seeing what he's doing. And so just lots of possibility there. Gonzaga is one of these teams that any guy could pop on any night. And so lots of possibility there. And what was interesting about this game in totality is that it felt like Gonzaga was in control almost the entire time. And basically the second half felt like it was played between an 8 to an 11 point margin between the two teams. And what was impressive to me was San Diego State kept pushing, but Gonzaga just kept pushing right back, and just didn't have enough. San Diego State ultimately to get over the hump, especially with kind of mounting injuries and foul trouble and other stuff like that. Both these teams have a crazy schedule ahead of them. For San Diego State, again, they've got to get healthy, because here's what's upcoming. After this Gonzaga game, they're going to have Creighton. They're going to have Oregon. That's in the MTE there in Las Vegas, the NIL MTE. And then one of the either Bama or Houston, or I forget who the third team is on that side of the MTE, but goodness gracious. And then they got Texas A&M. For Gonzaga, it's West Virginia to start battle for Atlantis, Indiana or Louisville next after that. And then the other side of the bracket isn't as deep, but if they make it all the way through, then hopefully Arizona does too. And then they're matching off in the battle for Atlantis final. And then we haven't even talked about Kentucky. Gonzaga and Kentucky play in Seattle, and then Gonzaga goes to New York City to play UConn. And so just a loaded schedule for both of these teams ahead. So we're going to continue to learn a lot more. I know that Kansas still has some big games ahead of them before Gonzaga and UConn play. And I say that to say that if things fall a certain way, we might get 1-2 in that game. Very strong. I don't say strong. There is a possibility that could happen. So that's the biggest game of Monday night. Really interesting. Just ultimately San Diego State, not enough to stick with a loaded Gonzaga team even at home there. Now, Wisconsin over the weekend had a big time win over Arizona, maybe the team that made us stand up and take notice the most this past weekend. But they almost negated all that and gave it away on Monday night. I'll tell you about that and more coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Roy, Locked On College basketball fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You've heard us talking about Roy this season and how they're revolutionizing the NIL industry. Well, Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. And here's what I love about Roy. You get your money back if the player transfers. You're not beholden to it. So you can show your support for the player of the week by depositing a little appreciation onto that player's account. Who's it going to be this week? Let me spotlight for you the Roy Locked On Player of the Week. Now, remember, this is a football-driven thing. Not, unfortunately, can't pick basketball players, but we're going with Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams, who caught 9 of 10 targets for a season-high 181 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, and 8 of his 9 catches were for first downs. That's absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to throw some money into Kyle's account on Roy. Every contribution counts, 10, 20, whatever it is, it adds up and helps your favorite players stay put. So join us, help show Kyle some love. Download the Roy app or go to joinroy.com today. Use promo code LOCKEDON. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players, change the game. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time, man. Y'all, college basketball season is here. So whether it was that wild environment at Viejas on Monday night or any of these other things that we're going to get upcoming this week, because there's some massive matchups, whether it's at the Fiserv Forum tonight as Marquette hosts Purdue. We've got Arizona hosting Duke later this week. Man, great college basketball environments where you never know what's going to happen. The unexpected always goes down, and you want to make sure you're there. So thankfully, there's a ticketing app called Game Time that helps you get great tickets for those moments at a great price. And when you're doing that this year, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks with curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, but also concerts, comedy, theater, whatever, you name it, live event, they've got it. Whether it's Game Time ticket coverage, the lowest price guarantee, or the panoramic views from the seat right there in the app, Game Time has got you covered. I mentioned Arizona hosting Duke on Friday at the McHale Center. Right now, Game Time has 2 tickets in section 110 for just $168 a piece. That's a great deal to see 2 of the top teams in the country go at it after last year. Remember, Arizona went to Duke and won in Cameron. So can Duke repay that? We'll find out, and you want to be there to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms do apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. Let's work our way around some other action that happened on Monday night. Obviously, San Diego State and Gonzaga was the biggest game of the night, but there were some other notable things that happened, whether stat lines or games or things of that nature. So let's start with Wisconsin, who jumps into the AP poll following that win over Arizona that they had. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the problem is you want to follow up that type of victory with like a convincing victory against an overmatched team. And that's exactly what Wisconsin did not do on Monday evening. So they host, Wisconsin did, Utah Rio Grande Valley, or not Utah, excuse me, University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, UTRGV. And the score of this game, just 87-84. Quite frankly, you all know this, I know this. That is not what you need to do to continue to foster goodwill. And it's not like RGV is terrible and in the 300s, but they're barely clinging to top 200 status. They're 199 at KenPom like heading into the game. So there is that. John Blackwell for Wisconsin, career high 30 points in this one, 7 boards, 3 assists, 11 of 18 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, and 6 of 8 from the free throw line. John Tonje follows up his ridiculous 41-point performance against Arizona, drops 19 in this one, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. Man, that's always impressive to me. But okay, so here's what's crazy for Wisconsin. RGV holds a 52-48 halftime lead. They grow it to as many as a 7-point lead with 15:44 to go in the second half. And RGV led like 3/4 of this game. They led for 30 minutes and 12 seconds. Wisconsin led for just 7 minutes of this game. And part of it was there was an odd, weird scoring drought down the back half of the game. So, what was it? RGV gets a 3 to go up 1 point with like just over 9 minutes to go, 9:01 on the clock. Almost 4 minutes goes by before we get another point. John Tonje hit a 3 with 5:08 to go to put Wisconsin back up 2. From there, Wisconsin never trailed again. But RGV hung around. Like they weren't able to push it back out. The lead was never more than 5. And in fact, RGV cut it to 1 with just over a minute to go. Then they get a stop, they get a rebound, and they get a look at a potential game winner with 2 seconds to go. It wasn't a great look. It was well defended by Wisconsin, but it got on the rim and had at least an outside chance to go down. Man, that is Wisconsin playing with fire. So Greg Gard's going to have to get things figured out with this team of like, look, you garnered all this goodwill Friday night, and then you almost throw it away on Monday. How do we avoid that ever happening again? I think the truth is somewhere in between. You know, Wisconsin on a neutral against Arizona might be a different story instead of at the Kohl Center. And I don't think they're down to the RGV level. The truth is somewhere in between. But Wisconsin, got to get better. Next, 2 results that are more about a certain player than about the team. Auburn smokes Northern Alabama on Monday night, 102-69. Fine, whatever on the score. I bring it up because I want to tell you, Johni Broome's stat line from this game. You ready for this? 13 points, 17 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Those 30 points came on 13 of 17 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and 3 of 5 from the free throw line. That's just insane for Johni Broome. Although he wasn't the high scorer of the night, the most intriguing line of the night was Utah State's Ian Martinez. 32 points, but exactly half of them came at the free throw line, where he shot a perfect 16 of 16 at the free throw line. That was a wild thing to do. Way to go, Ian Martinez, leading scorer in the nation on Monday night. Similarly, Arkansas beat Pacific 91-72 on Monday night. Again, whatever with the game, I bring it up because the storyline for me is Adou Thiero. And here's what's crazy. Going into the season, I wouldn't have even come close to saying this, but Adou Thiero has been the leading scorer in 3 of Arkansas's 4 games this season so far. He was tied with Big Z in one of them, but other than that, he's been the outright leading scorer in the other 2. And beyond that, it's not just that he's the leading scorer. It's the 3 highest point totals he's ever had in his entire career. 24 against Baylor, 23 against Pacific on Monday night, and then 19 against Troy. And I mean, it's not like other guys aren't doing anything. Like Boogie Flan had 20 on Monday night. Other guys are doing it. But I don't know yet whether I feel like this is a good thing for Arkansas that Adou Thiero is rising to this level, or if it's not a good thing because there are other things that are more important for him to be doing for Arkansas while other guys take the lead. So I think what I'm hopeful for actually with Arkansas is that he's kind of just a placeholder leading scorer right now, as maybe some of the freshmen get more up to speed, as John L. Davis gets in and does what I think everyone was expecting him to do this offseason. so that Thiero, yes, can continue to be, a 15 points a game scorer, but can do a whole bunch of other stuff that affects winning as well. Because that's where he really shines, is in utilizing his athleticism and doing a whole bunch of things. Now, if the scoring continues, as long as that other stuff doesn't fall off, great, and we'll take it. The only other ranked team in action on Monday night was Iowa State, number 5 in the nation, who clipped IU Indy 87-52. Really nice showing from St. Mary's transfer Joshua Jefferson, who's, to me, one of the kind of big, important transfers nationally because of who he is, what he can do, and where he went. Because Iowa State is a top 5 team nationally. There's a lot he brings, right? Like, had that injury for St. Mary's late last year. But, seems like he's in a good spot. In this game, double-double, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and a perfect shooting night. 7 of 7 from the field and 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Tamin Lipsey has 17 points. Interestingly, though, to lead the way for Iowa State was Curtis Jones, who had 20 off the bench. So really curious to see how things continue to roll for Iowa State. Only other interesting game of note for me was kind of a mid-major battle. McNeese against North Texas on Monday night. McNeese comes out 68-61. It's just a fun mid-major game. Really good game from McNeese's Joe Charles, who had 10 points, 9 boards, 2 blocks, and 5 steals, doing a little bit of everything. You'd love that if you're playing some fantasy and you get 7 stocks from Joe Charles. Man, really good stuff. So again, not a wildly full plate on Monday night, but some stuff that was interesting, whether from the game or individual scoring lines. Now, as we look ahead to Tuesday night's action, we get a Maui title game rematch from last year, Marquette, Purdue. That's going to highlight Tuesday's slate, plus an opportunity for Nova to get back in the win column. Will they be able to do it? Good grief. I hope so. And some quick AP poll reactions as well. All coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mint Mobile. Look, I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy for me. No massive hoops to jump through or other things to do. So when Mint Mobile said, hey, look, it's easy to get a wireless line for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is the easy way to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time you got to spend waiting to break up with your previous carrier. So to get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Right there, you'll see that now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including Mint's unlimited plan. All plans come with a high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with your Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your contacts over, so you don't have to worry about not being able to move all that. It's great. Go ahead, find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Disclaimer: $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slow, above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Let's get ready for Tuesday night action. Similar to Monday, there's not a ton of crazy stuff, but man, the big game is a big game. Number 6 Purdue at number 15 Marquette. 9 Eastern tonight, Tuesday on FS1. This comes from Fiserv Forum. Marquette is favored at FanDuel by 3.5. I am very excited for this game, to see this matchup. I'm hoping they're guarding each other. Cam Jones from Marquette and Braden Smith from Purdue, 2 of the very best guards in the game. And both of these dudes are doing it, are on fire early this season. A lot of times it's like, oh man, these 2 big time players, but one of them's in a slump right now. No. Both these guys are absolutely cooking. Cam Jones right now, 24 points a game, 3.8 boards, 5 assists to 1.3 turnovers a game, 2 steals. He's shooting 52.2% from 3 on 5.8 attempts a game. So he's out here cooking them up and dropping them down. 71.4% from 2 on 8.8 attempts per game. So it's not just Cam is shooting well from 3, but having a low percentage because of mid-range stuff from 2. Man, he's hitting over 70% of his 2s as well. great stuff there. Not shooting as well from the free throw line yet, but we'll see what happens there. As for Braden Smith, lower points per game, but in some ways more rounded stuff. 15 points a game, 9.5 assists. Braden Smith is at almost averaging a points and assists double-double right now. That's what we're talking about. 9.5 assists, 3.3 turnovers, 6.3 boards, 2.5 steals a game, shooting 36.4% from 3 on 5.5 attempts, and just absolutely lighting it up from the free throw line, 87.5% on 4 attempts a game. So, I mean, this is just a big-time backcourt battle, because don't forget, you've got Fletcher Loyer. No apologies needed here, because Fletcher Loyer is shooting 70.6% from 3 on 4.3 attempts per game. Obviously, it's early in the season. It's a small sample size, but he is shooting 12 of 17 from 3, man. I would take that on layups. No, I want 17 of 17 on layups, but you get my point, right? And that number's going to come down as the season goes. I get it, but he's doing it right now. The other big matchup that I think is critically important to watch is Trey Kaufman-Renn is filling in very nicely in the Zach Edey role. Had a great game in the win over Alabama on Friday night. And so Ben Gold for Marquette he's going to have to be ready, and he's going to have to do it and hold down TK. I don't think you can completely shut his water off, but maybe you can hold him under his average or something of that nature. And that's what it's going to take. But the other place I'm really looking at for this game to potentially be decided is the 3-point line. Right now, Purdue is making, as a team, 46% of their threes, which is good for 5th nationally, while Marquette is very far on the other side of it. They're making 30.4% of their threes. That's essentially, 15.5% lower, and they're 234th in the nation. And what's interesting is Purdue takes a smaller volume of their shots from 3. They're taking 21.8 threes a game, which is 241st. Marquette, though, even with their lower percentage, is taking 31.3 threes a game, which is 23rd in the nation. So Marquette, shooting a much lower percentage, is taking a much higher volume of their shots from 3. Marquette with a much higher, Purdue with a much higher percentage is shooting many fewer threes per game, like 10 threes per game fewer than is Marquette. So we'll see, how does that volume play out? How do the makes and misses play out? 3-point line could very well decide this game, as well as that matchup in the paint between Ben Gold and Trey Kaufman-Renn. So watch out for both of those things. As for the series, man, two of the best in the game doing it. Shaka Smart, Matt Painter. You can't ask for too much more. I also love, this is the first game of a home and home series. Obviously starting off in Milwaukee this year with Marquette hosting. Next year it'll be back in Mackey, date TBD. But it will be, what's cool is these teams have been playing a lot. Next year when they play, unless they play in a tournament or something later this year, this will be the 5th meeting in the last 8 seasons when these two teams meet up next year. Despite the fact that the first time they ever played was the 2017-18 season. So these, what tonight will be the 4th time in the last 7 seasons, is the only 4 times they've ever played, right? And so really, really cool stuff there. And again, as I said, this is a rematch of last year's just straight up electric Maui title game, which Purdue won 78-75, which, by the way, this year's Maui field, as of right now, has 4 of the top 10 teams in the nation in it. And that is going to be phenomenal. But just remembering back to last year, at that point, it was 5 of the top 11 teams in the nation, 3 of the top 4 teams in the nation. You had Kansas at 1, Purdue 2, Marquette 4, Tennessee 7, Gonzaga 11. And you also had an unranked UCLA, unranked Syracuse, and Chaminade, who's only playing in the event every other year now. So really, really crazy stuff there. And I'm very excited for this matchup tonight. 3 other games quickly to just keep your eye on tonight. And I do mean just keep your eye on it, because you never know. Penn at Villanova tonight, 7 Eastern on Peacock. Villanova's favored by 14.5. And Penn isn't great, 263rd at Ken Pom. But these Big 5 games have been interesting, and Villanova's not always done great with that. So hopefully this is a get-right game for Villanova, because goodness gracious, they need it. Do not lose this game, Wildcats, I'm telling you. Speaking of the Big East, on the flip side of things, DePaul, could move to 5-0 tonight with a win over Eastern Illinois, who they're favored by 18.5 over. That game's at 9 Eastern on FS2. So DePaul, 5-0, maybe. We'll see. One other game to keep your eyes on that is really intriguing to me. Samford, true road game at Michigan State, 8 Eastern tonight on Peacock. Sparty favored by 17.5 at FanDuel. But, Samford and the buckyball style they play, where it's just relentless, run, up and down. Like you all, hopefully you all saw the matchup with Kansas in the NCAA tournament last year. If not, hopefully you've seen Samford play at other times, because head coach Bucky McMillan, man, he's got this thing going, and it's so fun. And so really interested to see what they can do as they go up to Michigan State. Should be a fun game. I'm going to be tuned into it. I hope you will as well. Couple quick observations about the AP poll before we get out of here. Obviously, new poll dropped on Monday. We did have several big movers, and essentially all of them were due to winning or losing 3 different big matchups in the previous week. The biggest movers up, Kentucky moves the most. They moved 9 spots up to 10th after their win over Duke last Tuesday in the Champions Classic. Purdue moves up 7 to 6th in the nation after their win over Alabama. And then Wisconsin moves all the way up from unranked to 19th after beating Arizona. The biggest movers down are the losers of those 3 games I just mentioned. The biggest loser is Arizona, who falls 18 spots to 17th after losing, at Wisconsin. Quick drink here. And then Alabama and Duke fall to 8th and 12th, respectively. That 6-spot fall after the aforementioned losses that they took over the weekend, or not over the weekend, Bama over the weekend, but Duke last Tuesday in Champions Classic. And then two teams fall out of the poll this week. Ohio State, who is 21st, is now unranked, as is Ole Miss. So nobody else moves more than 2 slots, though. But, we'll get this in early polls of the season. We'll get pretty drastic reactions to some of the big games as we really start to calibrate what all of these teams are and who they are and what they do. I think Feast Week is going to tell us a lot about a lot of teams. So really keep your eyes out on that in the coming week and a half or 2, right? Going to be so much fun, so much good basketball, and I absolutely cannot wait. All right, guys, that's the show for today. Been great to unpack it all. Thank you for joining me. If you're not subscribed to our show on video and audio, make sure you do it so you don't miss a second. Getting to talk college basketball, man, it's so great and glorious and wonderful. Andy's going to be back with you later in the week, but on Wednesday's show, Leaf Tulane and I are going to do a live reaction show Wednesday morning, unpacking all this action I just talked about, hopefully headlined by Marquette and Purdue, unless there's something crazy that happens elsewhere. I would imagine that will be our starting point. So make sure to join us live on YouTube on Wednesday morning, and then it'll be in the audio feed and everywhere else as well. If you haven't subscribed to the Locked On College Basketball Discord, we'd love to have you there. Come on in, man. The link is in the show notes, and it's absolutely free to join. A great place to be a college basketball junkie with the rest of us. Oh, man. Okay. I said it earlier, but apologies to the lawyer family. Let's go Wildcats, and until tomorrow, peace.